hello. Uh, Good evening now. Good evening. Good evening. We are now live on Facebook and on Instagram. Go give some more people a moment to get here and join us here. And we will get started very quickly. Hope everyone's having a good Saturday, good weekend so far. Yeah, go O's. Yeah, I'm missing baseball season, so that's why I put on one of my Orioles jerseys. I didn't even get to unveil my new custom Orioles jersey. I won't do that until the season starts, so have to wait until baseball season start. Just give everyone another second to get here, and we will get started going through some updates and then taking your questions as always. Thank you for joining us. We'll give everyone another minute. If you have questions, start sending them in, then we will get to them as quickly as possible. Good afternoon, good evening to everybody. Just giving everybody a second to join us here. Thank you for joining us each and every day. Just another 30 seconds, y'all, and we're going to get started. Good evening, Mr. Lowry. Good evening, brother. Hello to everybody. Hello. Good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining us all. All right, we are going to get started, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this Saturday, April the 4th, 2020. Brandon's briefing about COVID-19 and all things City of Baltimore. It's always a pleasure to have you and be here to serve you and answer your questions. Before we get started with COVID-19 related stuff, I wanted to talk about a couple things. And again, I'm going to start off by saying again, while we have COVID-19, we know that in Baltimore we continuously still have a lot of unacceptable violence. We know that there was a young man killed last night in Federal Hill at what seems to be a party that they were hosting at a Airbnb that they also put on the internet. Now we know it's unacceptable for someone to be killed in any circumstances, but we also, again, this is one of the reasons why I've been pleading with you all to not participate in those kind of things, especially during a time like this, because you're putting yourself at risk in multiple ways. And we just want to pray for that young man and his family and hope that people are able to come forward, other people that were there, so that we can bring those people to justice. But make sure that you're being safe in every way, everybody. If someone invites you to something like that, don't go. And make sure that you tell them that they shouldn't be hosting something like this, because we now have someone whose family is not going to be able to see them again because of this senseless violence, and we can't aid these things in any kind of way. So just make sure that we're staying vigilant, staying safe, but also that when we see things like that happening, that we're making sure that we're telling somebody, right? Even if it's not the police directly, if it's someone like me, people consistently send that kind of information. We have to be able to have people's families come to some sort of justice when we're having these things. And then also, there's also a video you may have seen on the internet of young people taunting a police officer yesterday. And let me first say, but it's unacceptable. But also, we have to help our young people understand that they have to be safe during this process, and that going outside in groups is endangering themselves, is endangering everyone that they know. And we have to make sure that people are being as safe as possible, especially our young people. But we also have to make sure that they are being respectful at the same time. We cannot continue to have these kind of things happening. We cannot allow this to be the norm. We have to have control over our young people, over our children. We have to make sure that they are following rules and regulations. And we also have to ensure that we are supporting our city officials as because they have to enforce things. I've been telling them that they have to start enforcing the youth curfew because we got to keep these young people safe and off the street. So with that being said, the last thing I will say before we jump into hey, Mr. Lee, before we jump into COVID-19 stuff, I want to remind everyone that we're excited that this Monday at 5 p.m., we're going to hold the first. Charlie's up. Hold on, everybody, for 1 second. Sorry about that. We're going to hold this. We're very excited to host our first ever in the history of City of Baltimore, a city council meeting digitally this Monday at 5 p.m. Remember last month I canceled all of the council meetings, and now we're going to do that in a digital way. So you can stream this and watch it again. You can watch it on TV 25 if you live in the city and have Comcast. You can also watch at charmtvbaltimore.com/watch-live. We'll put that in the chat for you right now. It's charmtvbaltimore.com/watch/live, and we'll put that in there. And you can also, if you simply just want to listen in to the city council meeting, you can call in to 443-984-1696, 443-984-1696, and you need a code to get into it. It's 024-5337. Again, that's 024-5337. It's a way for us to now make the council meeting even more accessible than it was before, because we had it on TV and stream, but now you can actually call into, because we know everyone doesn't have access to internet even to TV. So we want to do that again and make sure that we're making sure that people can see what's happening in City Hall continuously as we move through this COVID-19. If you go to BaltimoreCityCouncil.com, you can actually see the agenda for this upcoming council meeting. I'll have some legislation related to COVID and some other action things that we'll be taking, and we'll be passing some pretty significant pieces of legislation around crime and some other things as well. So thank you for staying tuned for that. The latest statistics in the state of Maryland. We are now up to 3,125 cases. The city of Baltimore has 343 cases. Every county in Maryland has cases of COVID-19, so we know this is a very, very serious thing. We know, again, we have a stay-at-home order in effect. Effective Monday, April 6th, the Harbor Connector, Maritime Commuting Services, the ones that connect you to one side of the harbor or the other, is going to be suspended. We know the reasons which you can be outside during COVID-19. Other than that, you should stay at home so that we all can stay healthy and stay alive. And again, if you need information or resources, remember you can get that on our COVID map, bit.ly/BeMoreCovid map. All of you food sites, senior stuff, healthcare clinics, all that information is gonna be there. The food distribution for Baltimore City Public Schools, you can get that information at BaltimoreCitySchools.org/health-updates. All of the information is right there. Again, that's BaltimoreCitySchools.org/health-updates for all of the food sites that you can get, and they will not be operating on the holidays. But I want to list those up. Remember, these are these dates. The city's grab-and-go meal sites for the young people will not be open on these dates. April 5th, which is Palm Sunday, which is tomorrow. April 10th, Good Friday, Passover, and April the 12th, Easter. So you will not be able to get food from those sites on those dates. That's again, April 5th, 10th, and 12th. Those sites will not be there. I'm now going to pause for a second and take some of the questions. I saw we had a bunch coming in. Someone says, should we wear masks whenever we're outside, even just for a walk? So we know that this information, again, remember I've been consistently saying to everyone that the advice from the public health professionals is going to consistently change. We know that we're now hearing that the CDC, some folks are telling the president, others we should be wearing masks every time we're out. What I'm going to say to you until they have an official ruling is that if you have one, wear it, right? If you have a mask and you have access to one, wear it to protect yourself. If you don't, then you have to figure out other ways to do that. But we absolutely recommend that if you have one, absolutely we should be doing this. Next question that we saw, are we seeing any COVID clusters in Baltimore? And I'm glad that you brought this up. These are also questions that I am now asking of the health department and some other folks about how they're tracking, how they're tracing. We know that we had a outbreak of some people at a facility, a seniors facility on Harford Road. We haven't had, thankfully, we haven't had one like we saw out in another county where they had a large group of people. But you can rest and assure that I will be pushing to have them track that data and trace that data in every way. How come our city isn't tracing the contacts or everyone in the city who has test positive? So you have to remember how these things work. So they are tracing that. Every time someone tests positive in the city of Baltimore, our health department leads the effort of tracking and tracing to make sure that we are now not just thinking about that person, but everyone they came in contact with, they possibly get in contact with their surfaces. They've done a great job of doing that. And now what we're going to do from the council level is push them to be able to share that information as much as possible. But we also have to remember, everyone, that when you're talking about health things, there are HIPAA laws that prohibit a lot of data and information being shared, right? So you have to be, it's very careful. They have to be very careful about what they can share. So on the meals on those days, the school system is still giving out meals, and they will also, you can try to get several in advance. So be sure to do that. What are they going to do to protect the operators of MTA? Again, this is something that I've been one of the leaders on, is making sure that we have PPE for bus drivers. So continuously pushing the state and the governor and their folks to make sure that they're protecting them. More and more bus routes have now been suspended. So there's less and less of our operators that are going to be out there. But if you are an operator and you feel like you're not being protected, I want you to do two things. I want you to reach out to your union rep and also reach out to me. What about essential workers that might be affected in the yards? So essential workers that are working in the city, you should have PPE. What I have now said publicly is that I believe that the mayor should institute testing, temperature testing, things like that for all of our frontline workers. We've seen it happen in New York and Los Angeles with the police, but I believe for us as a city, we should be doing it for our police, for our fire, for our DPW workers, for the folks that are still having to come in and work and clean our buildings, our housing people, all of those folks who still have to be out there. We want to make sure that they're being tested, and I'm going to continue to advocate for that to happen, so that we can make sure that we're taking their temperature and also providing them with the personal protection equipment that they need in order to stay safe on the job. So as soon as is there a backlog of confirmed COVID cases, as soon as the information, the tests come back, and the test does take a while, again, I want everyone to know, right? Every city, every state across the country is frustrated on the lack of available tests. And we've all have been screaming, hooting, and hollering at the federal government to get moving on this. And we know this federal administration has a lot of shortcomings. We know that, but we're going to continue to push that to happen. But as soon as that information comes back, that information is shared the next day, right? That's why you can see how drastically the numbers can jump from one day to another, because the tests are coming back in. And they are tracing those. Once they know where the test is, they're immediately going out doing a track and trace here in the city of Baltimore. Our health department has been great at that. We know that there has been some cases in prison. We know that folks around the state have been pushing for the governor to put things in place to provide protections for the workers. workers and the inmates. There are also some folks that are pushing to have the governor do what many states around the country have done, is especially releasing senior inmates who clearly are way past the time that they're going to be out committing the kind of crimes and things like that. But they're also in these places where they're confined, and they're more susceptible to the virus. But he has not, as of yet, agreed to do any of that. So we're going to have to continue to pressure him to do that. Let's see. That and there's a question about how we can stop the spread of this with transportation being packed. That's one of the reasons, again, why they've now shut down more of the lines. That was one of my biggest frustrations, is that, like you guys saying, you want them to practice social distancing, but if it's 30 people on a bus, that's simply not going to happen. And we all have to make sure that we're continuously pushing these things to make sure that people are following the rules and regulations, and that we're all paying attention to social distancing. Even as we're going out and doing what we need to do each and every day, we have to protect ourselves. We have to protect our friends and our family, because, again, y'all, this is serious. I was watching and reading online about some folks who are like my age, healthy folks, 35 years old, 36 years old, and they get sick all of a sudden. In 2 days, they're gone. Don't think that this can't happen to you, because it absolutely, positively can. And you also can affect someone else. This is real. This is not something made up. This is not something concocted that will allow people to do these other things. I've seen all these things about 5G and all of that. We have to take this seriously and not let people play games with our mind, because people are dying in Baltimore, in Maryland, and across the world. So that's a great question about, has the city considered delivering meals? And actually, in some cases, that stuff is already happening, and they're talking about figuring out how we can do that even more. We're doing that a lot with seniors already too. Let's see. So yes, it is true that Hopkins and some other places are considering trying to use those who have recovered, looking at their blood, their life, to see how this may help in a treatment. So that's a scientific thing that they're going to be trying to do. Let's see, we got some more questions here. Waiting for some more questions. What are my thoughts on the 5G narrative? That is ridiculous. Listen, you guys, we all know where this thing started. You can see people who have gotten it. We know that this is not connected to 5G, right? This is a public health pandemic. This is not the first time that something like this has happened. We know that they had a flu pandemic in the early 1900s. We know that these things happen throughout human history. And what we can't afford right now is for people not to be taking this seriously, because they want to be playing around with these conspiracy theories. Stay at home. Listen to the doctors, the public health professionals, people who deal with this each and every day. We had a young lady on, Riccara Jones, who represents 1199, the healthcare workers, right? And you heard straight from someone whose people are on the front lines. They're getting sick. Like, people are literally getting sick. If you look at what's happening to nurses and these stories from New York and these other places where people who are on the front lines are dying behind this, to then turn this into some conspiracy theory, some quote-unquote game where people don't think this is real, it's disrespectful to all of those men and women who are literally risking their lives to make sure that we are healthy and safe. So let's make sure that we're taking that very seriously. Yes, it's a great question. So we actually asked this question of Dr. Sharfstein, if you can get it more than once. They are pretty sure that you can. They, of course, haven't proved that yet, but we have to know, make sure that we're protecting ourselves at all costs. Laptops for students. Actually, we know that the school system is starting to provide that. We're going to be talking more about that in the future. You can get all of the information. The school system has a survey that they're asking families to fill out. We're going to put the link into this of the technology survey into the chat right now, so that everyone has it to see that. We have to make sure that you fill it out, because it's about food and technology, so that they know who actually needs this stuff, so that we're getting it to the right family. So thank you for that, and we'll make sure that we put that in the chat. The National Guard is still here. The Maryland National Guard, yes, they are still here. Again, they are here for humanitarian missions only. We know they're helping set up testing sites. We know they're helping deliver food. They're here to help the hospitals with logistics. The mayor asked for them to come here. We have to make sure that they're here. They are here simply for that. Let's see. We'll answer that one already. So this is the thing. Why can't essential workers be Uber and the buses be shut down? A couple things around that. One, how are we going to ensure that the Uber that they get is actually sanitized every day, right? So that's something you have to think about. Uber is a private thing. We don't know what Uber driver is coming, if that Uber driver has tested positive, and things like that. That's why it's difficult. It's a difficult situation, but that's why they're trying to leave some public transportation open. That's a great question, though. And there was another question. So, someone say, is the economic relief package enough for city residents as it stands now? No, it's not enough for anyone. This is going to happen several times, and we talked about this, and we sent a letter. We can show you guys and link to the letter, right? And say where we ask for things, that I talk to our congressional delegation, our senators, about making sure that we have 100% unemployment insurance, including for self-proprietors, people that own in these businesses, barbershops, beauty salon, making sure that we have expanded health care, making sure that they're giving direct access, direct money to cities, right? We know there's going to be another round, and we're going to be pushing for more information, more resources in that next round. This first round is simply nowhere near enough, not just for Baltimore City, but for any place around our country. They know that they're going to have to consistently do more, and we know that they can do more. That's a great question, though. Thank you. So, what can we do to help families without internet? So, there's a couple options that are available now, right? So, one, Comcast is allowing anybody in the city access to their hotspots, where people can go in and you can log in. Now you have to do it every hour, but you will be able to just continuously log in and use their free hotspots. They also have now reduced their Internet Essentials thing and made that more affordable for our families in the city of Baltimore as well. And we are now trying to figure out ways that we as a city can help, but that those things are absolutely happening right now. All right, let's see. So it's a great question. Has the current administration met with local grocery store owners to ensure the stores are practicing safe measures? So I know that I personally have talked to the folks that run grocery stores in the city, those who run ShopRite, Giant, also Shoppers, and talking to the folks that represent the umbrella of them, and consistently making sure that they are putting in practices that make it safe for their workers and for their customers, right? So if you know of a store that you don't think is following that kind of work, send it to us and let us know, so that we can reach out to those people directly. There've been some great stuff put in. I know that John has put in plexiglass for their workers, and I've seen I was actually doing an interview outside of a supermarket on Thursday morning, and there was nobody, a giant, and there was literally nobody going in there but seniors. So I thought that was a great thing that people were also being respectful of that as well. So I think that that would be a great thing. If you have more information about that, please let us know. Are there vehicles with megaphones that can be used to inform isolated low income areas? Yes, and the police department is starting to do that around practicing social distancing, etc. And they're using that the helicopter and cars to do that, to my knowledge. Another question was, how is it that we are the richest country in the world and can't make or provide respirators for these hospitals to save lives? Again, this is the key. This is why you consistently see folks angry at the federal government. They're playing games with the federal stockpile. They changed the website, and also now being able to ramp up. That's why you hear folks talking about them to talk about the Defense Protection Act, so that we can start to build these things in a more succinct, quicker way. We have to continue to pressure that we can do it. They weren't taking this very seriously, right? The way that our system works, when you don't, right now you're getting leadership from Congress down, right? At the presidential level, you're not getting leadership. You are getting someone who's taking this half seriously. That's why you see governors, mayors, council presidents, people like that leading and supporting the folks in Congress who actually want to get something done. So a question. I need someone to explain this a little more. Do they have energy testing kits to go get a random? I don't understand what that means. So explain that a little more. Let's see. Yes, so this is a good one. Mr. Lee said, I think my male courage would like to hear someone say thank you. We absolutely. So I tell people this all the time. If you see someone who is delivering mail, someone who's cleaning trash, someone who's cleaning buildings, someone who's picking up trash, tell those people thank you. Tell those people that you know that they're a hero, that they are risking themselves, they are interacting with people, touching all these surfaces when the rest of us are at home. Make sure that you are letting them know that you appreciate them and their work. So someone said, what is Baltimore doing to make sure our porch residents aren't hit the hardest by this pandemic? Again, this is why it's critical to reach out to all those communities, and this is why they are the ones. I was actually speaking about this on one of our first lives, where I physically went out into some of our hardest hit neighborhoods, our poorest neighborhoods, to tell people what exactly what we should and shouldn't be doing, and giving them the information so that they know, because we know they don't have access to internet or TV. We have to communicate to them in a different way. We've been sending information home, even with like water bills, which shows the COVID-19 information. We have to continue to communicate with them. 1 second. There's a question coming in there. So, do we have and we talked about this. We'll put the link so you can see it. You can find it at the Baltimore City COVID site. They have a whole plan for homeless in Baltimore City. So, let's see. Do we have enough corona testing kits at the location? No, there aren't. There's not enough testing anywhere in the country. That's why you see everyone's kicking and screaming at the federal government, Mr. Battle. And this is also important. Even when we get these new testing sites up, like we know we're in the process of building one up at Pimlico Racecourse, it's still not going to be everyone can come get a test. As I say, consistently over and over again, only those who have the severe symptoms, tightness in chest, shortness of breath, or people with pre-existing conditions can get a test, and you're getting a test with a doctor's note. You just don't drive up and get a test. That's not how this works. Stay at home. If you feel like you're that sick, then we want you to go and reach out and make sure that you're following that advice. But If you feel like you just have mild symptoms, we want you to contact your primary care physician. Allow them to guide you on what you should do. And then if you don't have one, on our COVID map, you can find places where you can go if you do not have a primary care physician. So someone said, what will happen on election day? Will people be able to vote? So I'm going to try to go through this very quickly and explain this up. So there's now going to be 2 election days. If you live in the 7th Congressional District, Elijah Cummings' old district, and you're voting in the special election to replace him, you should be getting a ballot. It will be all mail in. You will be getting a ballot in the mail over the next few days that you have to mail in. The election that I'm running in, the presidential election, the mayor election, is now on June the 2nd. The governor will be announcing how that election is going to happen. We think and we know it's going to be significantly via mail as well. And once you get that ballot in the mail, you can fill it out anytime, immediately fill it out, say who you're going to vote for, and go from there. And someone asked me a question about, as a mayoral candidate, what's my plan to address Baltimore's food desert? Whoever asked me that question, because we are right now talking on my official job side, please send me a direct message and I will send you a direct response that lays out our plan for dealing with that. So many people are afraid about getting evicted, even though there is no evictions right now. What can we do? Spread the message. Tell people that there are no evictions right now. They cannot be evicted, but if they feel like someone's violating that rule and they're trying to evict someone anyway, make sure that you are letting law enforcement know. Make sure that you're letting us know so that we can hold that landlord responsible. Someone said, can you receive a doctor's note online? Now, of course, that differs from doctor to doctor. My primary care physician, they do a lot of telemedicine anyway, so that depends. Some people, it depends on where your doctor is, but most of them should be able to give you some sort of email or some official thing. Let's see. Someone said, do we think that we're heading towards a total shutdown? The truth is that no one knows how bad this is going to get, right? We know that this is going to get worse. We're not even in the worst of this yet. We think right now that the worst of this is going to be towards the end of the month, April 28th, April 29th. But that has changed. We also know that some of the health professionals think that this can spike up, go down, spike back up again. This is why it's important for you guys to continuously listen to the public health providers, making sure that you can hear from them what you should be doing. And right now, that's just staying your butt at home. There's no reason for anyone to get out. There's no reason for you to be practicing unsafe practices. Go out, get some fresh air, be with your family, communicate digitally, get your groceries only when you need them. Don't go out buying everything. Don't hoard so that other people can't have resources. We want you to do everything in a respectful and safe way so that we can get through this together, because we will get through this together. Let's see. Yes, if you can right now, you should still pay your rent, because you don't want that to all pile up on you. But if you can't right now, we know that this is a special situation. This is why, again, we're going to be advocating for another round, and we're going to be helping folks, working with our federal government and others, to talk about rental assistance as well, and those direct payments to citizens, so that we can help people, especially those who have been laid off and don't have a job during this time. So thank you for that. So again, for your absentee ballot, you do not need to do that as of right now. What you should do is you should wait. Probably what's going to happen if you're voting in the special election for the congressional district, you're going to get a ballot in the mail, and then later on you're going to get a ballot in the mail for the presidential and mayoral primary as well. So you don't have to ask for absentee ballot right now. So yes, the city is providing first responders with masks and gloves, PPE, hand sanitizer for all of those folks. Let's see. So there is a rainy day fund for the city. The rainy day funds, city's rules and regulations are a little tricky. There's about believe it's about 90 million in there, Mr. Crum. I have to double check that number, but I believe. How realistic is the mayor's estimate of 42 million deficit due to COVID? That's the analysis that they have right now. Of course, they've been updating me on that, and what will happen is that the Budget Bureau will come back once they actually have. Right now, it's all projection. Once they're through the quarter and we know where it's going, and they'll be able to provide us with more information. And the long-term impacts we don't know yet, but we know they're going to be significant, right? Thinking about where the city gets its revenue, parking, right? All those folks that come in from the county and come downtown and park in garage because they go to work, not there. All of the things that you do, all the hotels, conventions, none of that stuff is happening. So we have to understand that this is going to be a severe economic impact. It's going to be, we believe it's going to be worse than 2008. It's going to be worse than the recession, and it's going to be tough. So we're all going to have to understand that, and understand that we are going to have to make tough decisions. We're going to have to make changes to how we operate. And make sure you, if you aren't, make sure you have registered to vote. So thank you. All right. There was one more question. Oh, yes, we're gonna continue to do these consistently. Yes, we're gonna continue to do these all the time. Tomorrow, I want to invite everyone to come on. We're going live tomorrow. Tomorrow, though, will only be on Instagram because we're gonna have a special Instagram guest tomorrow joining us live. We're going to have a Baltimorean, a Baltimore boy. We're going to have a Baltimorean, Darius Jennings, just signed with the San Diego Chargers, is going to join me tomorrow on live to talk about COVID-19, how it's impacting the world of sports from elementary, middle, high school, college, up to the pros, but also talk about like what people can do to stay fit and stay in shape. So make sure that you're tuning in live tomorrow at 7 p.m. with Council President Brandon Scott and Baltimore's own Darius Jennings. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As always, remember you can always stay connected with us by following us on the internet at Council Press BMS on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We consistently put out the information, so we will make sure that you stay connected. And if you ever need us, you can send us a direct message, or you can contact us at 410-396-4804, 410-396-4804, or councilpresident at baltimorecity.gov. Thank you.